assume that reincarnation is real, would you come back to planet Earth? That's the question. Welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast with Michael and Sandy. So, would you come back to the Earth plane? Reincarnation is real. Take that as given. And you finished your life here. Would you come back? Let me know in the comments. Would you come back? I asked that at a conference recently, and there was 37 people there, and about 3 hands went up. And I wonder if they really meant it. But this is a good question, because if you don't answer yes to that question, then you're not in alignment with your higher self. Because your higher self put you here. So think about that. With all the awareness of everything that you have on the other side, you chose to come here. That means you would do it again. And when you understand why you chose to come here, then you understand yourself. So it's a really good exercise or litmus test that you can run on yourself and say, okay, do I understand myself enough? Because when I get to the point of understanding myself enough through my dreams, I will answer yes to that question. And that's the best thing about dreams, because they're always telling you why you're here, what you need to do. But we kind of look at it from the tail wagging the dog perspective here, because we only have the human perspective. But we have a veil applied to us on purpose. We deliberately do this to ourselves. So from a limited perspective, we are forced to work on ourselves in a way that either we can't do it in the spirit plane, or we just refuse to do it. Like, compare it to how many people are overweight in America, for instance. All of those people know that they should be working out at a gym. They should be changing their diet. They should, whatever it is that they need to do in order to drop that weight. But do they do it? Well, this is kind of a forced exercise that we put on ourselves. We have no choice but to achieve the goals that we set ourselves while we're here. But again, it's telling about ourselves that we have to come here. Now, it's not always that. It's not always an unwillingness. Sometimes it's an extreme difficulty in doing what we need to do on the other side. So doing it here is so much easier. But what I've noticed over the years from working with people and working with their dreams is that we lean into our weaknesses. We lean into our strengths too, but we lean into our weaknesses. We don't pretend we don't have them. We don't mask them. So for instance, I was talking to a woman recently, and she wants to understand the detail of everything. And in this lifetime, she's very confused. That's what she would say. Like, I'm confused a lot. But normally what happens in past lifetimes, she has gotten to a certain point, gained a credit, let's say, or gained some sort of marker that she's meant to have gained, and then goes past that to something else, but eventually doubles back because she overthinks it and drops that first marker and goes, I don't really need this. This might be holding me back. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. So she comes here in this lifetime and she's carrying a great deal of confusion and puzzlement, but she keeps everything in her hands, so to speak. So when we look at her in this lifetime, she's achieved 3 things that are wonderful that she needs to achieve, but she hasn't dropped them because she doesn't know enough to know whether she should or shouldn't. And so she's leaning into the confusion in this lifetime in a deliberate way to make sure that she holds on to the good things that she's achieved. Also, they've sped it up for her. What she was told by a psychic recently was that she's achieving 4 lifetimes in this lifetime. And when I tuned into that, it was like, yeah, compared to your own speed, not compared to other people. And they never compare us to other people. It's always about, are you a better person than you were yesterday or in your last life or whatever it happens to be? So speed it up so that she ends up confused because she loves all this detail, but when she has the detail, she drops things. It's really, really interesting, isn't it, when you understand it from that perspective? And so then coming here with the veil causes her to make great strides in understanding who she is, even if she doesn't fully understand how deep she's gone until she gets back to the other side. Anyway, think about it. Would you come back? Most of you are going to say no, but you need to sit and think about this and say, okay, I'm saying no, but the reality is because I'm here, I already said yes. And if I understood myself, I'd understand why I said yes. And if you understand that, then you would say yes again in a heartbeat. Anybody that fully understands themselves would say yes again in a heartbeat because they know why they're here. They know why it is so super important for their own growth and for their own well-being. That's your challenge. Understand why you're here. Get to the point where you would say, yes, I'd come back to Earth. Now let's look at some dreams. This dream is from Yulia. So again, looking at a dream from the perspective of trying to understand yourself, because that's what it's all about. In Yulia's dream, she's being offered a brand new car, but she's being offered it by the Russian mob. Now, Yulia is Russian, living in America for many, many years. And in the dream, she's like, there's no way I'm taking this car from the Russian mob because I don't know what kind of consequences I would have for it. And so in the dream, she didn't take it. And so she asked me about the dream. And when I tuned into it, they said immediately she should have taken the car. The car was a gift from her guides, and it was her guides who were represented as the Russian mob in her dreams. And so now the obvious question is, well, why would they show up that way and kind of scare her into being afraid to take the gift? And what they said was that she has this perception that her guides can't protect her. And so they showed up in that way to basically say, look, not only can we protect you, but nobody messes with us. Because that's what she thinks about the Russian mob. Like, nobody's going to mess with them. Why would you do that? Why would you take that on yourself? And so if you're on their side or they're on your side, that's perfect. But of course, she got a little bit scared in the dream. But it was really kind of funny that that's how it went. Answered that question. And then, of course, it comes to, well, what about the car? Why should she take that car? And when I tuned into that, I'm told that this car, it doesn't have protection built in. The guides are the protection, because the first thing I thought was, oh, maybe it's protection. But it has the ability to take her from where she is to where she needs to get to in a much better way than she's previously been going. And it also has the ability to go off-road or change shape to become like a three-wheel bike, motorbike, all that sort of stuff, to go to places that a regular car can't go. And the way they emphasized it was that this car allows her to go in any direction she wants, rather than having this perception of, oh, there's a correct direction and there's lots of wrong directions. With this car, she can go in any direction and it's going to help her achieve her goals regardless, because it's going to make certain things easy for her and going to take her to where she needs to be. So wonderful dream. But during the dream, she was like, I can't do it. So afterwards, she had a feeling that she should have accepted it, because this is one of the biggest signals that it is a guide in your dream when they offer you a gift. She's been offered the gift of this wonderful car. So she went back into the dream and accepted it, which is exactly what you do. And this is an interesting point. If we spoil our dream, and most of the time we do, we have a certain number of weeks where we can go back into the dream and accept the gift or do whatever it is that we should have done that we didn't do in the first place. Now, we have a few weeks to do that. And basically what happens is there's an energy packet that goes with a dream. We get that if we do the right thing. And it's not like, oh, this gift is yours if you want it. I mean, although this dream pretty much has it that way. Our dreams are trying to address the imbalance in our masculine and feminine energy. And they're basically trying to, I think I've put it this way before. It's like clear the pipes so that the flow is correct in whichever energy you're working on. And when we reject the message of the dream, we reject the gift, then we don't get that clearing or cleansing that the dream was also trying to do. And so we have about 3 weeks to go back in and accept it. And then we still get that boost, which is really, really cool. After that period of time, you can still go back into the dream and you can accept it, and it still changes things for you in the future. But at that point, you're really just saying to your subconscious or to your higher self, like, I'm willing to do this at this point. You don't really get that energy packet, which is really like 1/3 of the reason that we're having our dreams. But a good dream, very good dream, really, because it came in that guise because she had that sense of, am I protected? Can I be protected? Answered that, and then gave her that gift at the same time. Let's move to another dream. Now, the very astute among you will have noticed that Sandy isn't with me today. And that's because we had a 3.5-day retreat that we just ran. And Sandy's still kind of at the closing end of that while I am recording this show. But let's continue on. This one's called Gifts and Dancing on My Birthday. And it's from Martha. And I'm going to read it and then do little pieces of it at a time. So I'm in my house I lived in from ages 10 to 17, and we're in the living room celebrating my birthday. Okay, so we already know the subject matter there. Birthday is all about working on issues from birth. I've already unwrapped some presents, but now comes my mother's gift, and she's working on issues around mom. So this is good to see this very early in the dream. As a kind of surprise, she's made a doll out of a blue garden overall and a red, white, black scarf, like farmers wear. The present is hidden inside the figure. It turns out to be a wooden puzzle, the kind meant for very young children, with a few little shapes that fit into slots. Well, obviously, the age of the children and all this sort of stuff is telling us that the thing that she's trying to work out, the puzzle she's trying to solve, is from that young age. My brother finishes the entire puzzle very quickly. I say, "You're still as mean as ever." Yeah, he comes up a lot in our dreams, and he always plays that role. Back on the back of this simple puzzle is a much harder one. I think I have time to start it, but it turns out to be quite a lot of work. I encourage everyone to help. I don't know if my brother is still interested. I'm holding a group of red pieces in my hand. I believe we don't really have enough time after all. So, as with everything, like this dream seems like, okay, there's a few things there that they don't even go together, but they always go together. So the puzzle, the baby puzzle, like the very easy one that's just done really fast, that's like the early work that you've worked on, early childhood stuff that you've worked on in this process of working on yourself right now. And that's all being surfaced and dealt with, and it's easy. But you're now into harder stuff. And the harder stuff is on the back. So it's still about the past, because the back of anything is about your past. So it's still there. But that's the real work that you're doing now. And your brother finishing your puzzle quickly evokes that old sibling dynamic and a particular trope you've been working on, which is, I don't want to take up people's time. And we see that clearly in the dream, because you start the puzzle, but then decide you don't have time to do it. But it's your birthday. You're entitled to take up everyone's time, or just to take your own time doing whatever you want to do. You're not there to please other people. So we know that this is going to be an issue, or is indeed an issue that you're already working on. And it's identified well in the dream. Next piece of the dream. On the windowsill, in front of the window, stands a small aquarium. The aquarium was full of aquatic plants, but also with dark green algae. In the bottom right corner, I see some sort of living underwater mushroom. It's dark brown and looks like it's rotting. Slowly, I watch it shrivel up, and then it suddenly looks beautiful again. I say to my younger sister, "Did you see that?" But she hadn't noticed. Now, there's a few things in this. First of all, the sister not noticing, a family member not noticing, and you're everything in the dream. So how can you be a shriveled mushroom? But you are. That's what it is. That's the magic of dreams. So the aquarium and that mushroom, withering and withdrawing, is about a cycle that you have, that you withdraw, and nobody in your family even notices that you withdraw when something's happened. Like you wither and withdraw, just like the mushroom shows. And then you're gone for a period of time, not physically, but you're not emotionally present, let's say. And then you come back. But during those periods, your family don't even notice that happens to you. And so you seeing this in the dream is really good, because that's what you need to work on, because you still will have that cycle today. So now the whole point is to notice that the cycle today, where you withdraw from people, is from childhood. And the dream is saying, this is now the hard puzzle that you're working on. So they're not saying this is going to be an easy thing, but it's definitely going to be something you can do. If you see it in a dream, it's something you can definitely deal with. Let's move on. Suddenly, loud music comes on. I think my father put it on. Everyone starts dancing in front of the window. Not my parents. I think it's my siblings and spouses. It's really fun. So really good. This is typically how it goes for Martha. Things are really good, and then they kind of get spoiled. The music is blasting, and suddenly my brother starts gesturing. up and down with his hands, as if our stomping might annoy the upstairs neighbors or something. All right, so here we have it. The dancing is really good. It's always good in a dream because it's about expression of your joy in the moment. And dad's loud music sparks joy. That's good. Your brother's concerns is the judgment reflex that kills the moment. So for you, this is a real pattern you've learned from your mom. We know it's all connected to mom because mom was at the start of the dream, and your brother always shows up in dreams about mom. And so don't let a perceived need to act a certain, let's say, proper way for others to appease them. Don't let that spoil your joy in the moment. You self-censor. So that's what you currently do. And the dream is trying to point it out that this is where it comes from. It comes from way back in childhood. Like even on your birthday in the dream, you are censoring and saying, oh, I'm not going to have time to finish this. But you don't say, I'm not going to have time. You say, we don't have time. And so you're really handing the reins over to somebody else. All right, next piece of the dream. Gathered in the living room is a lot of stuff. Almost everything is light wood and white and very rectangular, including a baby crib with bars. My father is planning to drive part of the guests home and also take all the furniture along. We wonder if it will fit in the car. He thinks it will. Well, the baby crib with bars is obviously bringing you back to childhood again, a particular time, because obviously when you're in a crib. And dad taking that away while he's bringing some of the guests home is about people giving away things from my childhood. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody gave away, say, toys from your childhood, but there's a perceived loss from your childhood. And that's why it's shown up in the dream. Even though you don't call it a loss, it's just like, oh, this is just going to be done. So it's an expectation that, yeah, this is what happens. And of course, in childhood, we think, oh, this is happening to everybody. Even though we might be miserable about these things, we still, like, we can't do anything about it. We're too young. We have to just accept it. And so now, as an adult, you're looking at it with a better eyes and an understanding that this shapes you today. The sense of loss in childhood shapes you today. And so when you're aware of it, a lot of the time that awareness is enough. But you're already working a therapy that's going to help you heal it. So that's really good. Next part. Then we're upstairs in what I think used to be my sister's bedroom. Everyone is scattered around the big bed. We're watching television. On it, a blonde woman with short hair and light eyes is interviewing a dark-skinned woman. So interviews are about you learning about yourself. The interviewer is lying in weird positions on the small brown sofa, mostly on her back, while the dark-skinned woman sits neatly. So here's that proper. This is the way that we should be acting. She's asking lots of questions. My father says this episode is from a series he doesn't really like as much. Okay, we'll skip that a little bit. But the TV interviewer is your guide, inviting public quirkiness. And Martha had a dream before where there was animals getting busy. And intimacy in this area is reflected in this dream. It's like be yourself. That's really what they mean. Let people get close to you. Let them see how you are. And a blonde interviewer, of course, female, asks you to get in touch with your feminine side. So again, that's pretty cool. Anyway, she's lying in all these positions. You say she's on her back. So it's again, the past is emphasized. That's what you're working on. So really be yourself. Don't be proper. Your conditioning says that you need to fit the mold. And the dream is really saying, show up as you are. Because it's the guide doing all these quirky things in the dream, right? So it just looks strange because the other person isn't playing along. But really, that's what the guide is inviting her to do, to play along and be quirky like her, but she doesn't do it. And you're the person being interviewed. So you're the one that is refusing to be quirky, at least for now. Next part. Then the subject of another birthday party next week comes up. My father says that might be a bit too much, and maybe it would be better if they visited again later in the year. I say that's fine, but that I would love to show them my flower garden. Now, there's a bit of reality in this because she does have a flower garden. Maybe we can go there right now because later in the year, the flower season will be over. My sister-in-law walks by with 2 flowers, one of which looks a bit wilted, I think. All right, so Dad says it's too much and you want to show the flower garden now. So this is really showing it now is great, but it's showing the parental influences, and it's good in the dream that you're saying, hey, I want to do this, and you kind of stick to that. And the slightly wilted flower is okay. I had to tune into that because I'm like, oh, there's a problem. Obviously, it does show a lack of love in childhood because the rest of the context is all about childhood. So we know it's a lack of love there. But it still shows you making progress because you're only saying one of them is a little bit wilted. We're not aiming for perfection. We're aiming for progress. And this dream shows progress. So it's really good that the sister-in-law, feminine, walks by with the flowers in her hand and isn't concerned that this one doesn't look perfect. It doesn't have to be prim and proper like everything else, like sitting up straight like the other woman being interviewed, all that sort of stuff. And the not dancing for the neighbors. The wilted flower is okay. All right, last piece of the dream. There's also some kind of classroom off to the side. I enter with, and someone asks what I've been doing. I want to say working in the garden, but I actually say I've been working on a paper for my astrology lessons, which is true in waking life. I'm not sure if that's the right answer. Maybe I am doing too much. Well, you are doing too much, and it's shown up in your dream, saying astrology paper instead of working in the garden, because what you are doing right now is working on the lack of love in childhood, working on the feminine side. Flowers and all that sort of stuff is perfect to see in dreams when you're working on the feminine, working on mom, because we need unconditional love from mom. When we don't get it, that's when we get the imbalance of feminine energy within us. And so we see that imbalance being corrected in this dream, and also showing the impact of it, the things that you do, trying to be perfect for other people. All that needs to stop. So really you should, at the end of the dream, said, I'm working in the garden because that's the important thing to do. And you're doing too much, and that's a distraction. And your tendency to appease authority rather than to follow your heart tasks is what's getting in the way. So stick with it. Stick with working on the very things that you know you need to work on. So what is the summary of this dream? Because it's quite a long dream. The summary is that the baby puzzle is for yesterday. That's done. It's easy. You're doing some hard work on yourself now. So you already had done work before and it worked out well because that puzzle was done fast, or you've gotten to a point in this process where you've completed the easy tasks and now you're getting to something that's got some real meat in it. And that's the work for today. So that's connected to the fact that family didn't notice when you withdrew. I mean, how horrible is that? Like, you're living in a family, something happens and you withdraw because you don't feel that you're welcome in that situation, or you're being treated fairly in that situation, especially when it comes to how your brother was and how he could say certain things happened when it wasn't true, and you weren't seen, basically, or listened to. So that's the cycle that you're able to see. And, the cycle of withering and withdrawing, that's what you got to work on. That's the shift that needs to happen. Don't let being proper kill your joy. Your life is about your joy, after all. It's not about pleasing others. You didn't come here to please others. You came here to feel and experience joy. So do what it takes for you to experience and feel joy in this lifetime. Be seen, quirky and all. That's a very big message in this dream. You can read the room, but then let your true nature shine and outrank the room. That's what you need to do, because you never do it. I like the dream. Let's fit another very quick dream in. This is one somebody just told me, and it was, they dreamt that they were looking for a mongoose. I think there was other people with them trying to find a mongoose. And the mongoose, she was aware in the dream that mongoose would kill snakes and eat snakes and that sort of stuff, which is, of course, what they do. But they never found it. So when I tuned into that, I mean, there's some easy things. First of all, you'd be like, oh, a mongoose is good because it kills and eats snakes. But it's also hiding. They couldn't find it. And anything hiding in a dream is not really good. It's not a good symbol. So that was kind of surprising, because I was expecting them to say, oh yeah, the mongoose is the dreamer's immune system responding and being good and all that. But what they said was, you don't want a mongoose in your dream because it shows up when it's got food to feed on. It's got something else that's there that you definitely don't want. So it's going to be adjacent to things that really are life-threatening. Now, the dreamer doesn't have them, a channel on that. Everything's fine. But it's still interesting to see how you can have an animal show up in a dream that is always associated with some other animal that's really a negative thing in a dream. Like snakes in dreams frequently represent the threat of cancer, like real serious threat to your life. And we generally want to kill them. Now, as with all dream symbols, there are exceptions. Sometimes a snake can represent counseling or healing, because we have the snake in the catechus, and the snake in Chinese astrology and in the Bible is wise, and the wisdom represents counseling. So it can mean other things. But here, because of the mongoose, and we know it's eating bad snakes, it goes for venomous snakes, then we don't like that. So what does it mean? It means look for something that you're eating that is not good for you. And I would say something that you're eating, because what are you checking? Are you checking bushes? What are you looking at in the dream? There's going to be symbols in there, or the symbols in the dream are going to be about the elimination system. Maybe it's hiding in burrows under the ground or whatever a mongoose does. Anyway, short little dream to whet your appetite. It's a nice one though. I like it because it's kind of quirky and it has a different kind of an answer than what you would have expected. So I want to finish with this. Do remember that we have our Dream Interpretation Summit on October 10th to 12th this year. It's $97 to attend, but because we are very strange, we give you back that $97 when you attend. So you go to dream-analysis.com/free summit, because ultimately you're paying nothing, and free summit is all one word. And you can register and look at the agenda for the whole event on that URL. And at this event, I will be interpreting dreams on the stage, on the fly. So you can just shout a dream at me. I will tune in and give you the meaning of the dream. And then why you're having that dream and what it's in answer to. All really cool stuff. We're all about reconnecting you with your light and helping you do that through a full understanding of yourself, from a full understanding of your dreams. Your dreams are the last bastion to the spirit world. You can ignore everything else. The biggest skeptic, the most ardent scientific atheist in the world still has dreams. They can't stop them. They also don't know why they have them, even though you can find a lot of people will say nonsense things about dreams. Nobody can turn them off, because your dreams come on a channel that is your last connection to the spirit world, that is course correcting you all the time in your life, saying, here's what you need to change. Here's what you need to change. We rarely have a dream that says, well done, this is what you're doing and it's the perfect thing, because they're not needed. If you're on the right path, your dreams don't need to tell you you're on the right path. That's kind of crazy. So they just focus on changes you need to make and course corrections you need to make. And they tell you about your gifts, how you're meant to use them, how they're going to help other people. And that event, anyway, 3 days, wonderful event, is accessed online through Zoom. It's all virtual. dream-analysis.com/free summit will get you the ticket to that and all the details about what we cover on it. On our first day, we talk about recognizing important symbols in dreams, understanding the value of dreams, and understanding some of the most common dreams. So you walk away day one, it's kind of a half day. Day one is a half day, 2.5 hours. But you understand some of the most common dreams that people have. Like we say, here's what they are, here's what they mean, and here's why they mean what they mean. And then we teach you how to look at symbols in a new way and how to identify the important symbols and then the symbols that you really should avoid in dreams. On the second day, we talk about the two biggest topics in dream interpretation. And the biggest one is about masculine and feminine energy. And nobody talks about this. Nobody says this is what dreams are really about, but it is what they're about. And that's what your life is about. You came here to rebalance your masculine and feminine energy. And your dreams are helping you to do that. Then we talk about the birth imprint. That's the second biggest thing, because when you come here, you understand why you came here. You know what your life is about. You know what your gifts are. And so dreams that show your birth and show the issues that you picked up, because we generally pick our issues up at birth or around that time, early childhood, from our parents on purpose, because that's what we came here to work on. Then we talk about spiritual gifts, how to identify them in dreams. What are your gifts? How do you use them? Many, many, many more things. That's just the first day and a half. We'll talk more about it next time. See you next week. Take care.